At what time?
You're cracking me up, sir, and nobody has ever done that before.
At 11.
11 a.m. We are on the record in GW 2023 CR 3000. Ms. Gillette, is that 7-2 or 2-2?
Two.
2-2?
Two.
Okay. 2-2. State of Kansas versus Lee Engles. You are Timothy Lee Engles, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Engles, we're going to go over your charges. In count one, you're accused of unlawful distribution of the controlled substance methamphetamines in an amount greater than 3.5 grams, but less than 100 grams, approximated at 47 grams. This allegedly happened by you on November 16th, 2023 in Greenwood County, Kansas. As charged, this is a level 2 drug felony. That means if you were to be convicted, you would have to serve 92 months in prison, up to 144 months in prison. You could also be ordered to pay a fine up to $500,000. In count two, you're charged with another count of unlawful distribution of a controlled substance. This charges allege that you unlawfully and intentionally distributed hydrocodone and or fentanyl pills in an amount greater than 100 dosage units, but less than 1,000 dosage units, approximated at 164. This is another level 2 drug felony, meaning that if you were to be convicted, depending on your criminal history, if any, you could be ordered to serve another 92 months and up to 144 months in prison, and you could be ordered to pay another fine of $500,000. In count three, you're accused of unlawful distribution of the controlled substance marijuana and or its active ingredient, THC, an amount greater than 25 grams, but less than 450 grams, approximated at 75 grams. This is a level 3 drug felony, carrying another 46 months up to 83 months in prison, the fine up to $300,000. Do you have any questions, Mr. Engles, about the charges or the possible consequences I've just gone over?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now you have the right to hire an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, you do have the right to apply for court-appointed attorney. As I told your brother a while ago, you could represent yourself, but that would not probably be very wise. So do you want to hire an attorney or apply for court-appointed?
Court appointed, please.
Very well, I'll have to ask you some questions. Are you employed?
No, ma'am.
How long have you been unemployed?
About 6 months now.
Where did you last work?
Pactive Evergreen.
Say that again, please.
Pactive Evergreen.
Pactive Evergreen? What kind of business is that?
They make styrofoam trays, ma'am.
I see. And why have you not been working the last 6 months?
Uh, I moved.
And you just didn't get another job?
Yeah, I haven't had another job, ma'am. I've been looking for work, ma'am.
Okay, so you have no income in the last 6 months?
No, ma'am.
How have you been getting by?
I've been staying with my family, ma'am.
Is that the family in Chanute?
It's yeah, a different family in Chinook, but yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you don't live with your brother, Mr. Wilson?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And how is it the two of you ended up together on November 16th of 2023?
We were just getting a ride together.
Okay. He was getting a ride from you, or you were getting a ride from him, or you were both getting a ride from someone else?
He was getting a ride from me,
Okay.
but yeah,
But he what?
he was getting a ride from me.
Okay. All right. And who do you live with down there in Chanute?
My grandmother?
Anyone else?
No, ma'am.
Is
My
that your,
my niece.
is that your mom's mother or your dad's mother?
It's my stepdad's mother, but it's my stepdad's mother, not not his mom's mother. Different. I don't know how to explain it. It's
Okay, so it's a different side of the family than
yes,
what
ma'am.
the
Yes.
other young man lives at with.
He lives at his mother's parents, yes.
Okay, so he lives with grandparents too, but it's on his mother's side. You're living with your grandmother on which side?
On his dad's side.
Okay. Where did you live when you were before you were with them?
I lived with my baby mama's husband's parents. I know it's confusing, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I heard you right.
Yeah.
You lived with your baby's
Mama's husband's
husband's parents.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so your baby mama was married to someone else,
Yes, ma'am.
and his parents let you live with them. Was that in
Yes.
Chanute also?
No, ma'am.
Where was that?
That was in Arkansas.
All right. And why did you leave there?
Because like I said, it was it was the living situation was awkward, to say the least, if you could get that.
Okay. And that was about 6 months ago you left Arkansas?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you from Arkansas or are you
No,
from?
I'm from Chanute.
Okay. Did you go
Born
to
and
high
raised.
school?
I went to high school in Chanute, yes. I've lived in Chanute all my life except for the brief period it was in Arkansas.
And how long were you in Arkansas?
5 months, I don't know, like 4 months, 5 months.
Okay. And your baby's still down there?
Yes, ma'am. She's 12. She's grew up there all her life.
Oh, okay. She's 12. She's not a new baby.
No, ma'am.
All right, Miss Jolette, we have bond set, I believe, at 30,000 right now. Has he been in prison? Has he had some convictions?
He has, he has been in prison and he does have a couple of failures to appear, Judge, which is a little different from the last one we had. He is also probation violations.
I haven't had a failure to appear in a long time, though, ma'am.
Hang on, sir. I want to hear from Miss Gillette. And then we'll
Sorry.
come back to you. Thank you.
He has had failures to appear. The last one I see, let me get through the last couple of pages here, Judge. Make sure that's the last one.
What kind of charges does he have?
Convictions. Kind of all over the place. Burglary, theft, being on the National Guard property. I'm guessing that was the armory there in Chanute. Interference. His last failure to appear, I think, is 2014. And he has also been in prison. I have that he has been up there on at least 2 different cases. That's his last one I have. He also has case 23 CR 344 out in Neosho County, still pending from October.
He had a charge as recently as November in Neosho
October.
or October?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Last month. What's he charged with there?
Possession of meth and use of a communication facility, possession of paraphernalia.
So you've been back to the area for 6 months and you've got charges of the type I just went over in Greenwood County, and you have the charges she just went over in Neosho County? And when you were in prison or the Department of Corrections, were those both in Kansas?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Mr. Engles, let's see. Well, I presume you're on bond in Neosho County and we're on bond when you got these charges. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Gillette, does he have, well, let me ask, is your jailer there?
Yes, ma'am.
Deputy, does he have a hold from Neosho County?
I'm unsure, but I can go look real fast.
Yeah,
Ma'am.
yeah, you might, if you can.
Right back.
Because it may not matter what kind of bond I put on you. It may be depend on what they're gonna do, whether you get out or not.
I don't have a hold, ma'am.
You can't go back to your grandma's?
I've been, I can go to my other grandparents, yes,
Where do they live?
in Chanute, Kansas, ma'am.
Okay. Hey, somebody, okay, Mr. Espino, thank you. All right. Ms. Gillette, you're more familiar with that part of the country than I am, or that part of the state. Do you know any of these people he talks about? He hasn't mentioned names, but
It'd
you
be,
said you worked with that one young man. Have you worked with this one?
I have not worked with this one, Judge.
Do you
I-
even know him? No other?
I knew Mr. Wilson's grandparents. That's how we, and I knew his grandparents. Oh,
Okay.
time
my,
ago. His grandfather died just a couple of years ago, which was kind of devastating for everyone because he was a really good guy.
So it's a pretty solid family in spite of what we're seeing about these two young men.
yes, ma'am.
Well, I think Mr. Engles might be on Mr. Wilson's mom's side. Is that right, Mr. Engles?
No, my mom married his dad, ma'am.
Yeah.
But I grew up with his grandparents being my grandparents since I was like 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Deputy, did you find out if he has a hold?
He does not have a hold, but I did find out that Wilson has a hold in Neosho County.
So you said you don't have anywhere to go, Mr. Ingles. Are you thinking
I do
you're
have a
better
place.
off, or Mr. Ingles, are you thinking you're at least getting a roof over your head and food?
I have a place to stay in Chanute, Kansas, ma'am.
Okay, now which is it? Because you just told me a few moments ago that you had no place to go.
I said I
Told me
couldn't.
no.
I said I couldn't go to my other grandparents, but I can go. I do have a place to stay, ma'am.
Okay, but before that, you said, quote, I have no place to go.
I don't think I ever said I had no place to
Quote.
go, ma'am. I do have places to go. Yes,
And I think you did say that.
I promise you, I have places to go, ma'am. I've been a lifelong resident of Chanute, Kansas, except for the brief period I was in Arkansas.
Well, I don't want you to come up with a list of places you're gonna go.
I could go stay. I have two places I could guarantee to go stay, ma'am.
How do you know you're guaranteed?
One's my grandparents on my mother's side.
Is that the one you've been staying with?
No, that's my grandparents on my stepfather's side. I can go to my grandparents on my mother's side where I was raised, ma'am.
Why can't you go back to the grandmother that you've been living with the last 6 months?
That's where I got that possession charge.
In the other county, they told you couldn't live there?
They didn't tell me I couldn't live there. My grandmother is still traumatized by the event, and I think it would just be better if I didn't go there. You know what I mean? I don't want put any more stress on her.
So the first incident traumatized her. You think this one would push her over the edge?
I don't think it pushed her over the edge, but I just don't want to put any more stress on her, ma'am.
Well, I can appreciate that. Well, is bond set at 30,000 cash or surety? Miss Gillette, do you have anything you want to be heard on?
If I could maybe get,
You said, Judge,
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
what number did you say that he's currently set up?
It's set at 30,000, but he's also on bond in another county. How much was that bond?
it was just 5,000, ma'am.
Oh, it was 5,000. So Neosho County has him on a $5,000 bond from October, and I don't know. I can't believe they're going to keep you on that bond when they find out you've got these new charges. But in any event, 30,000, Ms. Gillette, in answer to your question.
Judge, I want a cash surety bond. That way there's a bondsman in case he takes off on us.
If I can,
He has more of a history of failure to appear than our other defendant that appeared here. And with that risk factor, plus he's been in the state of Arkansas for a period of time. So I would just ask that he definitely have a cash surety bond. With the failures to appear, I would ask for at least 25,000.
ma'am, I haven't had it, like I actually said, I haven't had a failure to appear since 2014. I go to court even when I know I'm going to jail. If I could just maybe get it down to 15,000, something I could afford.
You can afford 15,000?
I mean, I could come up with 15,000 way better than I can 30,000, ma'am. I'm just asking for a little help. I know, I understand.
Do you have any charges or convictions down there in Arkansas?
No, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Engles?
I'm 33.
33, 12-year-old child in Arkansas.
And I have a 5-year-old daughter here, ma'am, or a 6-year-old daughter here, ma'am. I just trying to change, but
Well, I'm going to appoint an attorney to represent you, and you can contact my assistant, Missy, next week. The jailer will give you Missy's number to find out who your lawyer is. I'm going to set your bond at 20,000. That's what I set your brother's. Now, your circumstances are different. He's got more charges, but yet you've got more failures to appear and you've got out-of-state connections. But I'm going to give you both a $20,000 bond. I'll tell you the same thing I told him. No contact with each other. No alcohol, no illegal drugs.
yes, ma'am.
And I want to know exactly where you're going to live. I don't want this, I can stay here, I can stay there.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the names of the two grandparents that you think you can stay with?
It'd just be one. My other grandfather died. It'd be Shirley Leroy.
Say that again. Sure, that's her name.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know that name, Miss Gillette?
No, I don't know her.
It's probably a good thing. And she lives inside the city of Chanute.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's not the biggest town in the world. Are you sure you can stay away from your brother? And
Yes, ma'am.
you stay away from any other drug dealers,
Yes,
anybody
ma'am.
that's known, and I'm not saying you are a drug dealer, but stay away from any of that buddy that deals drugs, uses drugs. Don't use any drugs or alcohol yourself. Don't be in any possession because you're on a kind of a short rope with me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You're 33 years old. You get your life turned around, get a gainful legal job, start
Yes,
saving up money to support these young children of yours and be a contributing member of society in a positive way.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. There's nothing further. We'll be in recess. All
Judge?
right. Yes,
I have a question.
sure.
When is his next court date?
Yeah, I need
You know what? I didn't give it to him. Thank you for asking. Missy,
January 5th at 1:30.
is that the same as the brothers?
Yes.
All right, that's going to be by Zoom, so they shouldn't have to run into each other. January 5th at 1:30
Thank you, Judge.
by Zoom. You're welcome. You're excused. All right, now we are on the record in 23 TR 3000010, State of Kansas versus Matthew D. Reed. Mattman Reed appears in person and pro se. Mr. Reed, can you hear me if you'd unmute? There you go. Okay, sir, let's see. You had a 74 and a 65 speeding that was granted a warning by the officer, so we're not going to deal with that. It was not formally charged. You have a count, and I'm not sure exactly the numbers. I think count 1 is the illegal registration or expired tag. That is a misdemeanor. Now, the maximum fine on that could be $2,500, but I don't usually see it anywhere nearly that high. Then there is a possible sentence of 30 days to 6 months, but if that's ordered, it's usually granted probation where you wouldn't actually serve it. But I do have to tell you that those are the possible penalties: a fine up to $2,500 and a sentence up to 30 days up to 6 months. The next charge is knowingly driving without insurance. Now, if you did have insurance at the time the officer stopped and cited you, you can just take proof of that to Miss Gillette and she'll probably dismiss the charge. If, however, something happened that you truly didn't have insurance at the time, you're looking at a B, non-person misdemeanor. That means your sentence could be up to 6 months in the county jail. And the law in Kansas does require at least a $300 fine up to $1,000. You do have the right to an attorney. You also can look into the diversion if you think that that might be something you're interested in.
Oh, I need to talk to the attorney. I know what I want to do. I want to go ahead and well, I have a perfect driving record. I have a spotless record all around. So the smartest thing would be get it off my record. What would be the time frame on that? Because I lived in Wichita my whole life, and I moved here for a girl. I work at the greenhouse. Huh?
You moved to Eureka for a girl?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I work at the greenhouse, but it's seasonal work. So I'm off work currently. So I wasn't, by the time I moved here, I've only lived here about 2.5 months. I only worked at the greenhouse a very short amount of time that I didn't make enough money to be able to get my tags and insurance.
Okay.
So I'm having a hard time finding work because this isn't Wichita. I can find work in a heartbeat in Wichita for some reason. So, yeah, I think filing for diversion would probably be the best bet. But what's the time frame that I have to pay it off? Because I am having a little hard time acquiring jobs for me to do.
When you say you work for the greenhouse, do you work for the flower shop down there on River, or do you work out there for the folks that make the hemp?
No, they don't make hemp.
Okay. Is it the greenhouse, though, the big operation?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they grow mums.
I just when they were into hemp, but just mums?
Well, that was years ago. They used to grow hemp. That's what I hear.
And now it's just mums. Okay.
Well, mums and hanging plants.
Okay. Well, Miss Gillette, if you want to go with the diversion, her number is 620. Got a pencil?
No, I got a Dremel instead. Go ahead.
A Dremel?
I do. All right.
620 583
Okay.
8171.
What is it?
8171. 8171.
Okay.
And
And then now, can you repeat? What am I supposed to do again?
just call that number and tell them you'd like to find out about diversion.
Okay. Now, what about another court date?
That will be when Missy tells us. When will that be? I find it interesting you're using a Dremel because I've suggested lipstick and people have laughed at me for it. But
Hey, you never know. If you got to pee in snow, you got to do it, Not everyone's got a pen.
Okay. Missy says January 5th to 11th.
You said January 5th? At what time?
You're cracking me up, sir, and nobody has ever done that before.
At 11.
a.m.
At 11 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Reed, if you go online to the Kansas Department of Revenue.gov, you can update your address. You need to get your address updated to your Eureka address.
Oh, see, that's kind of I don't know what my address is.
Okay, well,
I no longer stay with the girl that I come down here for. Now I'm stuck in this little town with no pen and just a Dremel.
okay.
Well, okay, so you don't have a place to stay right now?
No, I'm kind of staying at work.
Okay.
I'm staying at the greenhouse currently.
The reason, besides the fact that it's legally required, that it's important to keep your driver's license updated in the Department of Revenue is that if they have any notices, like a suspension notice or anything like that, they send it to the last known address on your license or that you've given them.
Right.
And that's all they have to do. You wouldn't even know you were
And-
suspended. You
Well,
might
see,
not.
that's fine though, because the address that's on my driver's license is my mom's house that she's
Okay,
lived
so
in for 20-some years. So,
So she'll
and it
tell you
works
if something
perfect.
shows up. Okay.
That's right.
Now,
That's where all your official notices will go. So,
that's where if you get diversion, they'll send it to you and all that. So make sure where does mother live? What town?
Can I give you the address for the greenhouse?
Well, do they let you send your mail there?
They would let me send my mail here if I needed to. I mean, they're letting me stay in one of these little greenhouses for right now until I figure out what I'm going to do. Because I keep getting kicked out every month, like twice a month. So, it's on, normally I stay at North Sycamore.
The greenhouse?
But currently the past 3 days, I haven't been staying at North Sycamore.
I'm confused. So is that where the girl is or is that the
Yeah,
greenhouse?
that's where the girls go.
All right.
Yep.
Well, okay.
The greenhouse is like 5 houses down from her house.
I see. Well, that's convenient for work.
Okay, so what, do I have to go get a totally different driver's license again?
no, you can update just the address online when you know what your address is supposed to be.
Okay, and what's the time frame that I have to call you to get this diversion figured out?
Call my office today if you can. If not, call them tomorrow because they'll be open or closed Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, so get started on that and get that taken care of.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow because I'm kind of in the middle of a job right now. So.
Okay. All right, sir. Well, it's not enough to apply for diversion. You have to be approved. They'll send you a contract. You have to sign that contract and you have to turn it back in. Both steps require some kind of fee, and I don't know what it is. You can ask when you call them. But get it all squared away by January 5th at 11, and you won't have to come see me again.
Okay.
Now, another thing, sir, you weren't arrested, right?
No, ma'am.
You will need to go to the Greenwood County Sheriff, which isn't too far from where you are, and have your picture and prints taken. They're open.
Okay.
They're open 24/7. And Kansas law says anybody with an A or B misdemeanor charge has to have this done. I'm going to set your bond at 1,000 OR, which means you don't take any money. You won't have to pay the money on that unless you fail to come to court. And if you don't come to court, then you'd owe the money if your bond was forfeited and you have a warrant for your arrest. But you may not even have to come to court again if, like I said, if you get diverted and Miss Gillette tells you not to.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions, sir?
None.
All right. I'm going to let you get back to your job then, but make sure you get that process done. Why don't you do that tomorrow too? Get with the sheriff tomorrow on Miss Gillette's office phone.
Okay.
You know where the sheriff's
All
office
right.
is?
I do. It's like 5 houses down too.
There you go. That's what I thought. Okay. We'll be in recess. You're excused from these hearings, sir.
All right.
Judge,
Good day,
what
ma'am.
was,
Wait a
what was
minute.
the bond on that?
1,000 OR.
Okay, thank you.
All right, again, you're
Okay.
excused, Mr.
All right.
Reed.
Good day, ladies.
Thank you.